Retirement pension and college savings accounts have gone through the roof. And just as I promised the American people from this podium 11 months ago, we enacted the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history.
That is President Trump praising his first legislative victory during his State of the Union address. And while paychecks are rising and many big companies are investing back into America, some say it is the reason for the recent fluctuation in the stock market.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. The Dow saw a record-breaking high just months ago, then plummeted 1,800 points in just 2 days, wiping out a quarter of the gains seen since the president's election. So has this tax euphoria now turned into an investor hangover?
All right, let's get to the discussion going right now. Joining us here, Scott Carty. On the end here, he is president of Carty Capital Management. Michael Foguth, he is the president and founder of the Foguth Financial Group. Also, we've got Jim Tino back with us, as well as State Senator David Kniezek back again. Scott, let's start with you down the end over here. Now, you're a tax guy, you're a financial planner.
You see it all.
You see it all. You see it all. Do you think realistically that the president can take some credit, as he just did in the State of the Union, by his various tax cut programs with some of the maybe the gains that we've seen in the stock market?
I think historically a lot of presidents have done that, so I don't think that's anything unusual to see Trump take credit for that.
Do you think he should?
Do I think any of the presidents should? That's kind of a separate question.
Or I guess, do you think that he did have some dealing with this?
I think historically we've seen a lot of presidents do that, so it's not surprising to see Trump do that. I don't know why we're making a big deal out of it this time as opposed to when other presidents have done it.
Okay.
So I think that's just politics.
Michael, what about it? Is the stock market better today, the president's been in office for about a year, than, say, a year ago?
It's definitely higher, and I think that, you know, if anybody's going to take credit, right, someone's going to jump in and say, hey, pound my chest, it was me, whoever that may be, if it's our president, whatever it is, someone's going to take credit for it. So I think about our president jumping up and taking credit for it, because we're at all-time highs. We're hitting all-time highs. Who's responsible for it? I don't think you can point a finger at one person. I don't think that that's right to do, but someone's going to jump up and want to be able to, and the spotlight's on him.
Is the economy better today than it was a year ago?
It is.
You guys, do you agree with that too?
I do.
Let me get State Senator David Kniezek. Is the economy better today under the last year or so of President Trump?
I like it. 3 against 1. I like it.
Apparently so.
You know, I think that when you look at the crux of the tax plan, this was a massive benefit for the wealthiest among us, for the corporations among us, whereas the working people in my district could have stood to benefit a little bit more. We know that to be the case. Morgan Stanley just released a study yesterday that says only 13% of the additional revenues that the corporations are going to receive are going to be passed on to their workers. I think we had a great opportunity to do something on behalf of working families here in this country, and I think that the President and Republicans in Congress just kicked the can down the road.
Isn't that 13% more than they would have received, though?
Well, I think that right now we've got individuals, corporations going around trying to say, if we pass these tax breaks, we're going to have these massive benefits that are being passed on to the American worker.
Okay,
we know that's
we can't let him do all of it.
All right, go ahead.
I was told that I would have 35 to 45 minutes to read the 137 pages.
Let's take a look at this.
The list of people, corporations, major corporations that have either given bonuses, they're going to hire more people, they're increasing the donations to the 401ks, they're increasing the retirement plans. There's no question that this has been a great boom for the economy. But I want to tell you, I'm going to give you a little bit of slack. I think that the idea...
Thank you. Yeah.
Not much. But the real difference we've made here is Trump has, again, changed the rules of engagement. He is pulling back on all the needless regulations. That's going to make as much of a difference as anything else, and it's going to bring jobs back to this country. That's what we need. We need jobs. And that's why, by the way, the Democrats are so afraid of this, because the more jobs we have, the more Republicans we have, and the less of you guys we're going to have.
I see that.
Can I respond to that, Charlie?
Well, why not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But let me say, as I understand it, though, General Motors, though, they just had a record about they had about a $12 billion profit, though, and so under the contract with the UAW, there's about a $12,000 bonus for all the workers. But that was in the works long, long ago, though, wasn't it?
So this is what I wanted to talk about. You know, the two that have gotten the most attention are General Motors and AT&T. In both of these cases, those were profit-sharing agreements that were signed into. I'll let you talk. Let me finish, my brother. All right. Both of those were agreements that were signed by the employees and the employers. So what that says to me is if you want to actually increase your wages, if you want to increase your benefits, collectively bargain with the folks that you work with to make sure that you can get a bigger piece of the pie. That's what we've seen in General Motors and AT&T.
Michael told me yesterday that under the new tax plan that was just signed into law, about 75% or so of the people, because of the increase in the standard deduction now being $24,000 for a married couple filing jointly, that's a lot of your constituents as well.
So what we really looked at is even last year, 70% were taking standard deductions when they were at $12,000. So now we're going to double that. I think what it really does is it simplifies things. So there's a lot of changes. We can sit here, we could probably spend the next hour talking about what they took away and what they gave us and what they did. What they did is they simplified it.
But do you think that more people will get a tax break now because of the standard deductions and some of the other benefits?
Yes, a majority of Americans. I mean, the studies are out there. It's a majority of people. If it's high net worth, low net worth, middle class, a majority of people took that deduction, and they're actually going to have that. So we're never going to get 100% of the people happy. We all can agree up here that you're not going to make 100% of the people happy.
But how much of it is perception?
That's numbers, right? So a majority, there's over 50% are going to have more money back in their pocket, less in the government's pocket. To me, I think that's a big deal.
Well, Senator,
if the tax plan was so good, we in the Senate would have not had to pass new legislation just 2 weeks ago to make sure that Michigan residents didn't experience a $1.2 billion tax increase. And so I think we can all agree when it comes to simplifying the tax code, absolutely. That's something I want to do for my friend here as a small business owner.
You in the Senate and you in the House promised to roll back the Michigan income tax, and you never did that either. So it's about time you did something that was positive.
I'd be happy to remind you that when the vote went up in the Republican-controlled House to turn back the income tax, the Republican-controlled House voted that down last year. Okay. So I hope you can get your party in line and support your
my party is in
I think
much better line.
Regardless of parties, right? So if we
the peacemaker.
Yeah, but just look at it across the board. We're never going to make 100% of the people happy. Did we put more money back in the American people's pocket and take it out of the government's pocket? I think the answer is yes. So I'd rather see us individuals put money back into the economy rather than the government be able to choose where they want that to go.
So I agree
we
with
can
the
make a
demand-side
much better
proposal.
choice what to do with our money than the government. I agree with you 100%.
Both as individuals and as companies. Companies are pumping money back in, right?
And no one really knows whether this is going to cost us or not. Are we going to have more income in taxes because of this tax cut, because of the increased economy?
We got a lot of questions.
The certainly will get a bigger
This could
cut.
go on. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right, you know this. When we come back, final thoughts with our guests. We'll be right back. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. All right, welcome back to Let It Rip. I'm gonna read a tweet from a gentleman named Ralph. This one's for you, Jim.
All right.
He says Trump just wants to stroke his ego, want to do something for the vets, stop the government shutdowns. What do you say to Ralph?
Well, if the Democrats wouldn't shut down the government, we wouldn't have that problem. Okay? And I'm going to go back to what we said earlier in the program here. It's about a change in the rules of engagement. It's about how he deals with the press, how he deals with the establishment on both the left and the right. He's doing a great job. The country is on a high, better than it's ever been. We don't have a problem.
Senator Knizek, let me do this. Best Boy Electric writes, there's absolutely nothing said bad about President Trump. He's right on the mark, following all of the promise that we voted for, and this parade is just another example of him promoting good military. What do you think about that?
Well, I can't think of any time the president promised a parade throughout the course of his campaign. I will say, however, with Republicans controlling the president's office, the House, and the Senate, it always never ceases to amaze me how the blame could get placed on the Democrats. The former head,
60 votes, and you know
hold
that.
on, my brother. Hold on, The former head of the Republican Senate Committee just said yesterday in Politico, we don't know what the impact of the tax cuts are going to be, but we'll check our fundraising numbers at the end of the quarter. Is very plain, very clear to any of us. This was a massive giveaway to their corporate donors, and they're hoping to reap a little bit of the benefits on the back end.
I think that the money's going to corporations. I think that some of the biggest breaks, if you will, are going to that, right? And there's no sunset date on their breaks either. But here's the biggest thing. Where will the money flow that those corporations are going to make? Where's it going to flow to, right? It's either going to go back into goods, employees, economy, give back. It's got to go somewhere.
Let me get Scott real quick.
Yeah,
Mrs. Cammy says, thanks for the whole $20 tax gut you got me.
Oh boy.
$20.
Well, isn't $20 better than nothing?
I guess.
And if that guy worked harder, he'd get a bigger refund.
Wow. So, Charlie, that's what highlights some of those. So these gentlemen have to worry about the numbers, right? They have to worry about the numbers. So yeah, maybe somebody gets $20. The question that I have to ask as a legislator is what type of quality of life are we helping to provide to our residents here in Michigan? As you just pointed out, the tax breaks for the corporations are forever. They're in perpetuity. But we, the people, there's a stop date to ours. Why is it that we can't get the same breaks as the biggest corporations among us? It doesn't make sense to me.
Make more
I
money.
think going back to what Mike said.
I think a lot doesn't make sense.
We got to do that. Hey, Scott, Senator Jim.
Thank you,
Michael,
everyone,
thank you
so much.
That is this edition for Let It Rip. Thank you all for joining us. Fox News Sunday is next. Remember to head over to fox2detroit.com for all the news of the day. Bye-bye now.
Have a great weekend.